here at your Sydney Swans.
Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods, a fan podcast of the Sydney Swans Football Club.
So to all you loyal Swans out there, you just can't get enough of the red and the white.
Fluff up your tail feathers and settle in for a potentially biased yarn about all things to do with our beloved Bloods.
G'day there, Cygnets and Swanlings. Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods. You're joined as always by the boys from Sydney. I'm Chris and this is Noddy.
That's right, you lucky loyal Swans fans. In this review episode, we're going to be chatting about the big win against the Hawks. And remember, if you like what we hear, give us a follow. All right, let's kick things off with a quick game recap.
Right, last Sunday afternoon in front of 38,000 fans at the MCG, our Sydney Swans defeated the Hawthorn Hawks by 76 points with a final score of 18-10, 118 to 512, 42. Noddy, last game of the Anzac somewhat long weekend. What did you see about that game?
Oh no, it was good. It was obviously we had the Anzac stuff before the game and the anthem and that was really good. And obviously Hawthorn's got the jersey and the Guernsey and we don't. We spoke about that in last week's episode. But yeah, I think it was nice weather, wasn't it? And a fairly decent crowd. I mean, it always looks empty even with 40,000 there, but
yes, yeah.
It was funny. But yeah, there was a stack of red and white in the crowd. Good to see. So. And we put on a pretty good show in the end, so pretty happy overall, mate. How about you?
Yeah, look, I was pretty happy generally about the way things went. We always sometimes manage to get a bit stressed out about these games against the lower graded sides, but as it turns out, we've done pretty well so far, although the Eagles did give us a bit of a scare, but all in all, really happy about the win. Really good show by all players, mate. What did you see about the game?
Well, just on talking about Hawthorn and where they sit in the scheme of things, obviously they're quite low in the ladder. This year they've averaged 96 points against, 67-4. They're 1 win, 6 losses, but 5 of those losses have been against top 8 teams. So, obviously we'd only had 1 win from our last 7 games at the MCG, and it'd been 6 years since we played the Hawks at the MCG. Obviously our last game against them, we also scored 118 points, but they scored 37 points, I think it was. So a few of these things, look, they might not be as bad as they seem. And really, if you look at the stats, and we're going to go through that, we're saying it's a high-pressure game from both teams. And, they did a lot of things right. They probably just didn't capitalise when they needed to. And not to take anything away from us, we also had really good pressure and we were really just punishing with the ball when we had it. We were way more effective when we went for inside 50 with scoring. But yeah, look, it was a big win in the end, and that was great because obviously boosted some percentage. But yeah, I think I don't know. I think Hawthorn probably, the scoreline aside, they can be pretty happy with some of the stuff they did in that game. It's a funny thing to think you lose by that much but can still be happy, and lose by less and be unhappy. I don't know. It's a funny thing, isn't it, Aussie rules?
Well, they have been competitive in points of the season. They kind of did well-ish against the Bombers. They really took it to Collingwood, almost topping them. And they've beaten sides like North, as you expect them to. So they're not terrible. And I think one of Sam Mitchell's comments was if you'd watched the game, you would have felt that the Hawks were at points really giving it to the Swans, and I don't disagree. I kind of felt that their pressure was quite good. The problem was, and I think even Sam Mitchell kind of did note it, is that they turned the ball over, and the Swans our team is very, very, very good when you turn the ball over. We're going to fall into the lap of someone like Blakey or a Juzzy or a Florence or someone. They're going to Gordon, right? They're going to punish you really, really quickly by getting the ball inside fast, and I think that's what we ended up doing. So, all in all, although the Hawks did do some good things, they basically played into our strengths, and I think the scoreline showed that.
Yeah, definitely, mate. As you're saying, they won the ground balls, the clearances, and the contest in general, and that's usually enough to win you the game. didn't kick their goals. I think Guinea was 0-4, not to single him out. But we were just, as you said, we were cleaner. We were more damaging when we did use it. We had some beautiful handball chains coming through and just took our chances. Missed a couple of gettable goals that really got under my skin personally, but you can't really be too critical of a performance like that, I think, in the end. Yeah.
There was a couple of things around the game that was nice to see. Goulden taking his, I would argue, without going back into memory too far, his first coin toss as play captain for the day. That was pretty nice. And I think we're all, as Swans fans, just waiting for the day that he does walk into the leadership crew and then end up actually captaining the side. So to see him out there taking the coin toss, I mean, not off the top of your head, do you remember it? I don't personally remember him ever doing that, so this is the first time for me.
I don't think so. I thought that maybe it was his first turn of captaining, but we could be wrong. I mean, I thought it might have been nice if Rowie got the nod in his 100th game, but maybe he was too busy focusing on how many pressure acts he was going to smash out and tackles.
Like he was going to ruin, on the day.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but I thought we've spoken about those two guys before about being long-term captains for the club, and as you say, it's just a matter of time, and it's good to get one of these under the belt. And other than that, mate, there was it was Buddy's farewell for the Hawks fans.
Oh, yeah. I did note, and I was telling you just before we started here, that I was a bit disappointed that his kid was in a Hawks jersey, and you were like, could you imagine the arrogance of this kid to be like, I'm going to be in a Swans jersey at this Hawks game where they're kind of basically seeing my dad off. That'd be hilarious. Obviously it was never going to happen, but a little part of me died. I'm like, oh, come on, he's not going to be a Hawks kid, is he? And then I had to remind myself he's like 4 years old, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But if you cast your mind back to the farewell lap that he did at the SCG with the family, with Jacinta and Tallulah and Rocky, they were in Swans gear then, Swans Guernseys then, and obviously for the Hawthorn farewell, he had the kids in the Daddy 23 Guernseys for the brown and gold.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of where Tallulah and Rocky are going to play. He's played 100 games, more than 100 games for both clubs, so it's going to be one of those ones. I think at least we've secured the Hall boys, which is nice because I think Barry Hall only played the 100 for the Swans, I think. Excuse me, I do have to apologise for my throat, but no, it was nice to see Buddy acknowledge the Hawks fans there, and he was looking pretty sharp in his black. He looked a little bit like he was out of the Matrix or something, like he was going to slip into a phone call and ask you which
time
pill.
off from spruiking nice watches and stuff. I think
he definitely flashed some bling on the wrist there, didn't he?
Yeah.
That was,
he was there. Yeah, I'm not a watchman, and even I noticed. So that's something going on right there. Well, look, hey, cool. Let's get stuck into more of the game anyway.
Sure, mate.
Rowie's 100th, as you mentioned. He played a cracker of a game. A couple points about him and his positioning in the league, mate. You were pointing out before we started.
Yeah, so he's coming second in the league for pressure acts, first in the league for tackles. So again, we spoke about this last week after the Suns games. It's him and Raoul that he's developing this really good rivalry with them, and it's not just in tackles as we touched on last week. It's also pressure acts. So in this game, he had 32 pressure acts, which was Sydney highest. 6 tackles, which wasn't the highest, but still really good, enough to get him ahead of Raoul again. And I think he was quite clean this game. He had a lot of nice little touches here and there, and he's just, we were saying he's just Mr. Dependable. And the club's obviously said that they're backing him in, major role player. But I don't know, mate. What do you think of his game?
I loved it, and I'll continue to say, and we have been saying for a couple of years now, his ceiling is continually just so high. That role that he plays is so difficult and unique to get going, and to see him kind of developing in it and then reveling in it, and not only doing that, also being, as you mentioned there, in pressure acts and tackles in the pointy end of the entire league, in the AFL league, against some pretty strong players and some pretty big men that have been doing it for a long time. It's superb. And it just goes to show how important he is to the team. And we'll see how he keeps going. But I mean, some other players around the ground probably also deserve a bit of love. Like Melican, he had himself an article this year as well. So this week as well, about his role in the game and how his position was kind of he's in his mind, his position was kind of questioned for a little while there. So to see him get a run on, he looked good as far as I'm concerned. He's really developing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just all those unfortunate injuries. I mean, I don't want to say he's like Sam Reed, but he's a similar sort of thing there for a while. Like he'd get a start and then something had happened, soft tissue or hip or something. I think he had a calf at one point. But yeah, I remember when he burst onto the scene, and he was basically a rookie draft from nowhere, from Western Victoria, not too far Western Victoria. I think he's from, where is it? Warragul. I think it's a nice bit of land. So I think we picked up a good one, and obviously just been hampered by some of these injuries along the way. But now that his body's looking good and he's really combining, and obviously Paddy McCutton's issues at the end of last year and retiring, the spot was up for grabs, and he's taken it with both hands, and he's really combining well with Tommy. We say this almost every week now, and he had one of those games again, and it was just really good to see, and it's really good for him personally, but it's great for the club to know that there's two tall timbers back there getting it done, and obviously with the help of Blakey, who we're going to talk about as one of our best on ground. And yeah, I don't know, mate. Have you got anything else to say there about Melly?
I mean, apart from who can be Paddy's replacement, Melly can, right? So he's just been lovely where we're there with Tommy, like the other brother.
That is our chant at the ground, by the way. We say whenever he gets it, we say, who can? Melly can.
Melly can. I love to see him. I love to see him succeed too, because we've been a big fan of him for a long time, and see him get a proper run on and getting some games into him and then proving that he can. Of course he can. It's just nice to see. Really nice to see.
We just have to start working in the different grammatical tenses. It's like, who could? Melly could. But that's
we don't have to.
We don't have to. Okay, so Heaney, the Heat, Isaac Heaney.
Just stuck into him. Go for it, mate.
21 disposals at 90%, 7 contested possessions, 3 goals. It's sort of probably he's definitely his lowest possession game, but probably his most impact. Certainly in a goal sense. I think we were looking up earlier. You pointed out he played the whole fourth quarter up front. But then had been running up and down, running amok, and I don't know. He continues his form. It's beautiful, isn't it?
I just wonder, has anyone tried to tag him yet? Like, I don't recall anyone actively try either successfully shutting him down or having a solid attempt at it. So I'm just wondering. I know that the tagger role has kind of dropped off a fair bit, and there's few teams that really employ it, like as a full-time role. I mean, we've got James Jordan. We can talk about that a bit later, about how he's playing that same kind of role. But
I think they said McGuinness was started off as with a tag on Blakey. But that's a good question, mate. Like I can't actually recall this year if any teams had actually committed a body to him. I guess the thing is with him, he can play anywhere. So the second he gets a tag, he just moves to a different line and he's as effective. Obviously, we've never seen him stationed down back, but yeah. Who else did you think was good, mate?
Well, yeah, just so quickly, just on Heaney as well. I think part of the reason also is he's hard as nails, so it's really difficult to kind of throw him off his game as well. So I don't see how you got to be good in the air, you got to be good in the ground, you got to run all day, clean with your possessions, you got to have some goal smarts. It's just really hard to tag the guy. So maybe it's just the nature of him as a human being, and his weird role.
He's moving very well. Yeah,
exactly. Like we said, graceful. He's graceful, like a swan. Oh, look at that.
He's gracefully avoiding all tags.
Oh, yeah, maybe. It's flying around. Florent, look. I think Florent has been fantastic. 100th consecutive game for him, mate. What did you see?
Oh, he's looking great. He's having a fantastic season. He had 28 disposals, 89%, kicked that awesome running goal that I think he wasn't sold on. He sort of looked at the umpire pretty hard, but I think Goulden knew that it was over. But he's having a really great season. And joking about that he's trying to get his next contract sorted, but you would have thought it's pretty much done. He's just in really good form, and it's really great to see because, yeah, I don't know. It's just gives us another weapon coming off the halfback.
And it's just continually getting better. This kid's so good, and I could never imagine. I think we've kind of labelled him as like the bass player of the Swans. He's just at the back with this groove, getting it done. As soon as he's not there, you know he's not there. He's kind of got that kind of role, and it'd just be so weird to have him not in the team. So I really hope that they wrap that up and get that sorted out, mate. Who else on your side did you feel that looked tidy?
I thought Gordon was great again, like 25 touches, 8 score involvements, 1 goal, 1. He just and he's just running up and down the wing, a lot of help in defense, making the right decisions as always. I don't know. I thought he had a great captain's game, if you think of it like that.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Captain's game. I think Papley, when he played the role of the captain, we kind of noted that he kind of seemed a little bit rattled. I mean, didn't necessarily have to do anything to do with him being captain on the day, but just probably not read his best game and a little bit off. But to see, Gordon come out there and just play like an awesome role as a captain. We know not all players can necessarily do that, take on that pressure. And one thing we know about Gordon is he invites pressure onto himself. He very much enjoys that. Chatty, mate, I thought Chad was superb. 22 touches, a goal, 8 tackles, first for Sydney, 24 pressure acts. I felt that he was just toying with the competition. He was just toying with the Hawks. Like every time they kind of started looking to where he was going to pass to, he just started jogging and take a couple of bounces and then get something going up forward. So he was playing on easy mode and he looked super sharp. He's just that speed and burst is just too much.
Yeah, you're right. Speed and burst, that's what I was going to say. Like his change of pace and his change of angle, it just seems to completely wrong foot play the opposition players, right? He can get through the smallest gap and just get us moving forward almost instantly. And then, all of a sudden he's kicked it 50 metres down the field and we're locking it in our front half. He's just, I don't know, it's really, really pleasing to see that he's putting this form together. Obviously he had his breakout in our grand final year and then Goulden was last year. But this year, both of them are working really, really well together and consolidating their previous form. I don't know, mate. It's just I hope he bought Rowie a beer after beating him in the tackle count, though. It was a bit stiff.
Yeah, Rowie would be pretty dirty about that, I feel. Yeah.
Did you hear Blakey make that joke when he handed in the Guernsey? Rowie the Guernsey?
Said, we've got 66 tackles amongst us. I've got 60, you've got 60. Well, that's a good line. He's a little stirrer. Rowie and Blakey actually live with each other, so it's nice to see a bit of like that brothership between them too, especially with a long-turner. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of Blakey, he did put a good tackle on Chol at that point in the game, front on tackle there. He had a great game as well, Liz. He had a few little errant kicks, but I mean, just the way that his brain works and how he takes on the game, you got to take the good with the bad. But 30 disposals, 9 intercepts, 4 score involvements. I thought he had a pretty good game, mate. How'd you see it?
I love him. I love everything about it. He had some really weird kicks as well. Like is when he goes for that little like I'm gonna tink this one over or doft it over. There's some kind of word that makes sense. Tink. I can't quite work out. Tink it. I'm going to tink this one over this way. And it's just like his foot hits the ground before it hits the ball and he just ends up grobbering it somewhere. But I mean, I think when all your momentum is going in one direction, no matter what you do with the kick, it's going to do something half decent. So I think he was just another one just toying with the competition, I feel.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall in Blakey's brain as he's making decisions on the fly. You know what I mean? Like, just sit there and go, wow, what's going to happen next?
I think fly is the correct term. I kind of feel it. I just feel like this empty room and it's just a fly in the middle going that's about the amount of energy going in and he's just going with it. Just going with whatever it feels.
Supernatural, super organic. Yeah. Goal kickers, obviously, Logan, 3-3. Could have kicked probably 4 or 5, but presented well, I think. And how do you think the tools went in general? Yeah,
look, I mean, pretty good. I think him and Amadi were working quite well. They were kind of occupying their own defenders, but they were. If you look back on the game, they were collecting each other a lot. Like so some of the great things that Buddy would do, he'd really pull his opposition away. He'd drag, one, sometimes two guys away from the dirty areas, and that's kind of where we'd get some extra game in. But yeah, with those two, they are collectively right next to each other, and they're basically just hoping for that chaos ball to kind of hit the ground and then get something going. So I don't know whether that's the plan or whether they actively want them to kind of play a bit smarter to drag their opposition out to different lanes. But it's something we've seen a few times recently, and maybe because of the speed that Amadi has, not quite there. Maybe that's the game we're doing. But I don't know. I kind of would still like for us to explore going a little bit smaller, a little bit more mid-range. And so we'll talk about later in the potty, but with Parker potentially throwing his hand up for an in, what do we do with this? But we'll talk about that a bit later.
Yeah, I mean, we're on goal scorers, so we may as well talk about the fact we had 12 different goal scorers: Logan 3, Heaney 3, Hayward 2, Wicks 2, then Goulden, Florent, Amadi, Papley, Adams, Chad, JJ, McLean. McLean had 1, 2. But yeah, look, it's positive, right? It's really great to see this many goal scorers. But yeah, look, I don't know, mate. Hayward and Wicks. Hayward, I thought, had a good game, had a couple of good chase down tackles. Wixie was energetic as he was last week. We're going to talk about him in a moment. But yeah, I don't know. How did you see any clear stats from the game that jumped out at you, mate?
I think the 66 points from turnover, something that we've been talking about between us for a little while there, just something that the competition's also noted that we're very good at, and something we touched on at the beginning of the podcast. If you're going to pass the ball over to our good users from the back end, it's going to end up badly for you. And I think that 66 points from turnover is saying that. And I believe we're coming first in the competition for that stat. And just given the way that we play and what we do with the way that we play pressure and the skill sets that we have around the wingers and those halfbacks, that's exactly what's going to happen. So I'm not surprised there. Mate, you mentioned Wicks. Let's get into that a little. Please, sorry, yeah, go ahead. Please.
My stat, I know we've already touched on it, but it's just pressure. I think, if any other game we won by 5 points or 10 points, we'd be talking about this. We had plus 22 tackles. So not to mention the pressure factor rating that everyone was talking about. Both teams have very high pressure factor ratings throughout. I think we sustained ours for longer, but the Hawks certainly brought it. They're talking about 190 or 200 or so, but to have plus 22 tackles by the end of the game is a fantastic achievement, even against a team that's low in the ladder, but still, they will trouble some teams if they take their chances. So I just want to call out the pressure, specifically through the work in the tackles that we did.
Yep, and I think that draws exactly into that points from turnover as well. That's kind of our game. That's our motto. That's something that's been flagged multiple times. That's something been built up in the last couple of years. So we've got the players to do it. Let's see where we end up. All right, Wixie. So a lot has been made in the media about Wixie scoring a goal. I think it was in that third quarter, perhaps, and it was his second goal for the game. No one got, from what it looks like in the footage, no one got around him. Noddy, what is your take on it? Is it a whole bunch of just bollocks, or do you feel there's something in it?
Well, I mean, this has been picked up by the media, and Horses said, I don't know why the media is picking it up. We're working through it. But you made a good point saying he did acknowledge that they're still working through it. But if you just look at his first goal versus his second goal, you can justify that the first goal was at a point in time when it's like, okay, we needed this goal and everyone high-fived him. And the second one was over the top. I think only Heaney was inside 50 and he'd probably started to run off for a water. And we're already pretty far ahead by that point. So there's different circumstances of the game, right? I did think it was a little bit strange even when there was that long footage. And I can't believe there was such long footage. You know, you always want the camera on like a holding the ball call and you never get it, right?
Yeah.
Rowie in the 22 grand final holding the ball, didn't see it. I still haven't seen a replay of it,
Oh, let's not. Yeah, that we spoke about that at length,
Oh
didn't
my-
we? Like, to this day, no footage exists. They burnt the tapes. Anyway,
They just burnt it. It's in Area 51, right? But this footage of Wicks coming back from the goal. I mean, he had a 90-second TikTok reel or whatever it was, right? It was just like, it was Wicks cam. It was just
Yeah.
let's see how far we can push this Wicks gate, because I am the same as Swans fan. That type of Swans fan who think that there's this big conspiracy out there. Well, I think it's justified. When the Swans are up and about, everyone else has to do and say whatever they can to bring us down, because they don't like us when we're going well. But I mean, for the past 25 years, that's mostly been every year. Our consistency is there. But yeah, look, I don't know. I think, so to recap your question, I don't think there's anything there, but you never know, because we're not within the club and we don't know. But
look. My point is, it looked. Yes, I agree with you. It looked weird, but at the same time, they're playing well together. They're all getting it done. So it's just gonna work its way through. Trusting the coaches. We're trusting the coaches to make decisions about the position, their players, how they're setting up. I think we also got enough to trust them in just kind of working through whatever. I don't know.
Well, he came back last week and scored 2 goals last week, and they got around him. So
got around him straight away. Yeah.
How often do they have to get around him for the media to stop this? Like,
he was 100 meters away from his closest player to get a high five.
Yeah.
So, like, what are we going to do about this? So, like, we're going to expect him to sprint 100 meters to high five a guy when we're already like 60 ahead? No,
they're just kicking the boots in, mate, because they hate to see us going well. That's basically what I reckon it is, as many Swans fans do. But look at, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think we can probably leave it there, mate. But I mean, there's a lot of we've teased the saying the rumors we've heard, but we don't think it adds anything. It'd just be like what the media's doing here. It's going on too long, and there's better things to talk about.
Let's get into it, mate. One thing I do want to talk about is Taylor Adams and his general role. I think he has been so solid. What I mean. Let me phrase it like this. Like, we didn't necessarily. I think we know what you're getting from a veteran. We know the kind of player that he is, but for him to slot into the side the way that he has, it's just been superb. And he does it like a Parker, where he does it and you don't even notice it. He does these great things. He puts great pressure. He tackles. He gets balls out from the inside, injects it onto the outside, and he does it with so much ease. And then you look at that and you go, okay, that's what he did. That's what a player did. But you forget how hard that is. And a very, very few players can do it. It's just insane that we've got ourselves a player of his caliber in the team. I'm still getting my head wrapped around it.
Yeah, mate. I mean, obviously he had his own delayed start to the season, but he's been really, critical in the last little bit since he's come in terms of bringing experience in and sort of holding that hybrid role of inside and half forward. But as you say, it's kind of like having another Parker, with Parker having been out so long, right? It's probably like the longest Parker's ever been out. I think he's been pretty robust in his career. But look, it's great, mate. And you can throw Grundy in there as well. Obviously, he had sort of... It wasn't as big as his 200th, but it was still a bloody solid game. And I will whinge about that 50-metre penalty right now, mate, because that was soft as shit from Meek. He milked it right in front of the ump, and the ump went, yeah, okay, there you go. It's bloody bullshit.
So to remind everyone from home, it was a bit of a love tap in the tummy to be like, get out of it, like, you're soft. And Meek just like bent over like entirely. So... Yeah,
you just watch the replay. It's such bullshit. But they got to bring him back into the game somehow. But I guess you could say at the same time, Chol. Although we couldn't see a replay of that, they didn't want to give us a replay of that, did they?
So it's hit on Gordon, right? Yeah, it's so weird the way that we have such good quality cameras available to us, and we just have none available in the AFL. So. We have the capacity to basically put like a high def camera on multiple parts of the ground at any one given time. And especially when the camera was literally pointed in that direction. and we've got the fuzziest 7 pixels to work with. And it looks like Chol, gave Logan a bit of a
Is it
throat
Logan
punch
or
or something.
Gordon?
I thought it was Logan, man.
This is what I mean. I saw pink boots. This is what
Right.
I'm relying my experience on. It's like, what color were the boots? That's how far away.
This is what we're working with here. Yeah,
This is what we're working with here. But he got a week anyway, so I guess in that regard, Grundy could have been lucky to not get sighted and not get, because they seem to be cracking down on these little gut punches and accidental throat punches.
Well, only after Pendlebury just absolutely nailed Neil, and they got a week for it, and now they're slowly tightening the screws and making everyone a bit more accountable for it. But they let Pendles get away with it. Let's not talk about Collingwood. All right, look, that's the game. Anything else we want to mention? Any other players we quickly should mention? I'm just going to quickly say Florent, Jordan, Juzzy, those wingers, Gordon, and amongst all that were just superb. I would love to talk about them at length. I'm a big fan of the winger position, and I felt they were incredible. But let's drop that there. Anyone for you?
Robbo was great again. I thought Cunners gave a lot of really good defensive pressure. Lloydie, I think, was pretty versatile again. He seems to be running up and through, and he's just, he might not be our best user at the moment, but he's our most experienced player, and I think he's been playing a really good role. You've already mentioned JJ. Look, I think it was just a good all-round performance, wasn't it? We could pretty much call everyone out for having a good game.
Just for the Bob medal, our equivalent of the Bob Skilton, we get 3, 2, 1 points out to the players. 3 for Heaney, no surprises there. 2 for Blakey and 1 for Gordon for this week. So that's Heaney, Blakey, and Gordon. 3, 2, 1. All right, mate. End of the game. Implications. What does that mean for our standing in the ladder?
Yeah, so we're coming second on 6 wins, and just the 1 loss against Richmond there. But, so the Cats are still coming first on 7-0, which is kind of frustrating. But
annoying because no one likes the Cats after what they definitely did to us a couple of years back. But
certainly Swans fans. But look, obviously the Giants and the D's round out the 4. The Blues have dropped back down into 6th, but ahead of us we've got Freo, we've got Carlton, we've got Dogs, the bye, and then Cats. So it's still going to be pretty hard. But before that, we've got the Canberra Giants.
Well, they did bring an incredible crowd out. I think it was a sold-out crowd over there in Canberra. So there is few reasons why a permanent move out there wouldn't be good for everything, including the game in itself.
I like it, mate. Is that when they flogged the... They played the Lions. They played the Lions.
The Lions just decided to just stop playing at halftime. I watched most of that game, so that was a bit disappointing because I was hoping for an absolute screamer and a few injuries from both ways. But look,
Public
the
service
Sydney
announcement.
Derby. Oh, please go.
Yeah, Sydney. It's
Sydney
not
Derby.
the Battle of the Bridge. Dwayne Russell. This is I'm tagging you. Love your voice, not more than you love your voice, but it's not Battle of the Bridge. I've explained this ad nauseum in various posts over the years because there's no bridges between the SCG and Livestock Stadium.
Well,
so
Gladesville Bridge.
No, you don't go over the Glades. You stay on one side. You go straight down Parramatta Road, mate. Like, come on.
I know.
You'd have to go really out of your fucking way to find a bridge to go to fucking Homebush, mate.
So for our players from Melbourne, perhaps, jump on the Google Maps, type in SCG to Livestock Stadium and have a look. I think there is a bridge, but it's more of just like a pedestrian bridge. But that's not really that. That's not what we're after.
If it's got a culvert under it, is it a bridge? Look, I get it. People, they want to put our icons on display, whatever. You've come up with a way better name.
Right. So what we're looking at doing, and we've spoken to the GWS podcast, Never Surrender, guys called the Squinters. They actually run a pretty good podcast. We're going to be doing a battle of the fridge where the team that loses the game buys the winning podcast a case of beer. So that's the plan going forward. The battle of the fridge is here. It's happening. It's here for good. So let's see how that goes. And I think if we really look about it, the Harbour Bridge is not available for trade. We're not having it. I know it makes good for photos. That's fine. But when you get down to nitty gritty, if we're talking Sydney to Sydney, yeah, it's not for sale. So
I mean,
stop.
you can't lay claim on the Sydney Harbour Bridge if you're from Western Sydney, right?
No. And as someone from Western Sydney, like growing up, I want nothing to do with that damn bridge anyway.
Right.
As a Sydney supporter who lives in the east or lived in the east, yeah, get away from it. Don't touch it.
Sydney Derby.
Sydney Derby, Roman numerals, etc., etc.
Yeah, that works. That works.
Yep. Look, we've got a few things coming up for this game, right? A couple of injuries that are coming back. Parker and Rampy coming back in. The notable being, well, both of them quite notable, but in particular Parker, who was won, I presume, infinite amount of Brett Kirk medals for his role in every one of these Sydney derbies.
Yeah.
I think reigning champion still. So firstly, question for you, mate. Does Parker just walk in?
I think so. He had 34 touches, 6 tackles and 5 clearances in the loss to Box Hill. So it sounds to me like he's pretty ready to go. And given his, as you mentioned, his track record against the Giants in the derby. Derby or Derby? That word, okay, all right, let's talk about that. Maybe that's why they said Battle of the something or other, because it's such a confusing word. Derby. Sport is Derby. In WA, there's a place called Derby. Yeah, good. So
Parker's won 5 Brett Kirk medals, which is the medal for between the two teams for the Derby.
Yeah.
For the Derby, being the most of anyone.
The Sydney game. Maybe we'll just call it the Sydney game.
The Sydney v Sydney game. Yeah.
Sydney v Sydney. Sydney v Western Sydney. Yeah, look, I think he's in for sure, mate. I guess the question is Rampy ready to go? It's harder. It's easier to bring Parker in and bring one out than it is to bring both those guys in, because I don't know who would make way. Who makes way for Parker, and who makes way for Parker and Rampy? Yeah,
it's kind of a weird one. Look, unfortunately for my eyes, as much as we've been talking about Braden Campbell, and I think even Horst this week mentioned that Braden Campbell is versatile and he's got many roles to play and he can play in many positions, and he's been having that conversation with Braden. I also think that's kind of a way for him to be like, Braden, I know you're not getting time on the ground, but bear with me here, because there's positions for you. We've got to find a way. Injuries would happen, but look, I kind of feel that maybe he sits out, Wicks goes into emergency, and then Parker fills into that role in that forward line. That's what I'm thinking.
So hang on a second. So Parker comes in and Wicks becomes sub. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. That's where I'm heading. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right. Yeah. And then it gets even harder if you bring another player in there, Rampy. So for the Giants, mate, Green, Taylor and Caniglio, as Horse stated on the record, to which the GWS media genii picked up and did a little video there. His name's pronounced Caniglio, surely.
Well, maybe
there's a G there. It's clear as day.
Maybe it's an Italian phrase in Coniglio or something like that.
Coniglio, is it?
Soft J, like jogging, but it's a G,
Is his nickname Cogs?
Yeah.
So do you pronounce the G in Cogs? Or do you call it
Cogs?
Cogs.
Yeah. Cogs. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not Italian.
I'm not Italian, mate. I just eat pizza.
I eat pizza and I drink Peroni.
That's it.
Half
Delicious.
Italian.
VFL, back to the VFL, mate. Sheldrick, Francis, Lads, Cleary and Edwards were all good. Reed has injured himself again. And talking about re-injuring, Millsy.
Yes.
Calf from running. So now he's officially 10 weeks away. I hadn't seen a number to his return until this additional injury, but maybe, I guess it's good to see a number, but it's still a while away, isn't he?
So did you say 10 weeks?
Yeah, they've put a number on it now, 10 weeks. So 2 to 3 weeks.
So we're saying round 17, round 18 before we see him.
Yeah, so it's not middle of the season, really. It's sort of the second half of the season. But, sorry, I guess that's technically... I had assumed he'd be right from the second bye.
Yeah.
But
So I thought,
like, sort of that middle. But maybe this additional calf, if that's what it is, is it's obviously taking him out further. But yeah, look, the Giants are going to be hard. We'll try and get a preview video out there, but they're playing very, very well. So it's going to be a tough game. Hopefully, it's going to be a full crowd. I know there's a lot of footy on that day.
Yeah, we've got ourselves some mad games. So we've got the VFLW starting at 12. Now, first off, 12, like that. I mean, the girls do play a shorter game. They play 15-minute quarters. So the game pretty much should be wrapped up by the 1:45. So that would be good, although not entirely, I'd imagine. So Tranwell Oval, across the road from, well, not across the road, but like basically at the SEG grounds, just as you're coming off the trams. That is Tramway. That is where the teams train. That is where the game will be. So get there at 12 o'clock to support your girls. It's going to be a cracker. Should be really fun. Then across the road for the SCG, 1:45 for the AFL, and then continuing on at the SCG for 5 o'clock for the VFL. That is a long day of football. And we all love a long day of football on a Saturday. That's going to be an absolute cracker. So get up there, come say hello, reach out to us, O'Reilly 3, etc., get onto it.
They're basically forcing my hand to drink mid-strength beers.
Exactly. Like there arguably is a point for lights, but we'll see how we go.
You remember the last time there was a VFL game after the AFL game, and we were there with Steve-O and I think his parents, and we were just canned on all day, and we were just like the loudest freaks in the ground, and there was like no one in there.
I remember meeting his parents. That's how well we're tuned up. But yeah, I feel bad. I'm sorry, Steve-O's parents, but yeah, it was a great day. It was a great day.
It's going to be another great day, mate. Before we go, David King has
that guy.
That guy who says some good things and some dumb things, but I don't know where this one sits, but he's basically said currently it's a race in 3 for the grand final or for the premiership, and it was Geelong, Giants and the Blues, and has left the Swans out of that because he thinks we still have deficiencies in our key posts. First of all, how do you think about that? And do you think we have deficiencies in our key post?
I generally, on a general sense, I think that he's actually a decent talking point. He's actually says some pretty fine things. So yeah, for the most part, of course, he's going to roll you up when it goes against your way. But when it comes to what he's suggesting about our key positions, let's be honest with each other. Let's be honest with ourselves here. If Logan or Marty, either one of those two tours goes out, we're pulling in guys from the VFL. You're arguably talking about Francis, Laddams, right? So
Buller,
to kind of step
Buller
in
maybe.
there, depending on his own role. Buller, he has to get some games into him. I think he's been a bit injured recently.
Reed's out, obviously. So
Reed's out, he's injured. So we are a little bit deficient in that space. In the back line, I'm less worried because I feel we've got like Hamling and things, and Aaron Francis can kind of step in there as well. So I'm a little bit less worried about that part. And I think just the way that we're gelling in that part, we've also got Rampy to come in. But yeah, in the forward line, I think he's got half a point. So yeah, that's why I think.
So I mean, look, you say most weeks, you're happy to go smaller and quicker. I always get a bit nervous if there's only one tall in a forward line, but I think you're right. Like obviously, if we have to look to Laddams or Francis or Buller to come in and play that secondary role. I guess we may be a bit exposed, but I guess the good thing is, as we've been speaking about, we've got a lot of different avenues to goal at the moment. So
right.
Yeah, look, I think we're certainly not as experienced as, like, let's say Geelong, in terms of their key positions. But I don't know. I thought it was a bit short-sighted to leave us out of that conversation. But you never know. I mean, time will tell, right? So, but
maybe he just wants a talking point just generally as well. Like one of the things, he's not a dumb guy, so maybe just leaving us out there to get us to bite at the bait is he's done the job. So we're talking about him, I guess. So that could be also an angle.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah. Nice one.
All right. Well, look, that does bring us to the end of the episode. Thanks for everyone for listening in. It's a little bit longer than normal. If you had a good time in listening, make sure to give us a like or follow us on any of your favorite socials.
Otherwise, keep an eye out for us for more content during the week, including our team's video and preview, as well as game day itself with Halftime Report with Sam.
That's it, Sammy boy, the Swam. Look, we look forward to seeing you all at the game. We'll see you at the VFLW. We'll see you at the AFL, O'Reilly 3. We love all of you. But until then, up the Bloods and car you Swannies.
Swannies. Come on, let's go. Out of the fridge.